This podcast may be one big clunky tumble down the stairs, but this episode is a good reminder that sometimes we say things worth listening to. In part 2, we're focusing in on how imposter syndrome impacts those with ADHD and autism specifically, why it happens to us so frequently, how society contributes to feelings of inadequacy and exclusion, and what we can do about it, along with some real-life examples of actual imposters throughout history that should make you feel better about your own situation, or at least give you the hope that you can get away with it. If you're tired of trying to keep too many hats in the air, or you're in search of sound advice such as scam a bank and steal a plane, look no further than this final part to imposter syndrome.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn, and most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention, there's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather, weirds of a feather.
Room sounds.
Room sounds. Room
Give me
sounds.
those room. Oh, are you changing it? You don't know.
No. I know it's a new year, but we don't need that kind of change in our lives.
Yeah, let's not get crazy.
No.
Can only handle so much.
Give me some room sounds.
Sounds in the room all around.
I'm afraid
us.
to talk into these mics.
Why?
I'm afraid it will talk back.
That's not how they work.
I know, but they're so advanced.
Yeah, we got new mics.
New mics
Same old
that
us.
we don't know how to use, but here we are.
Christopher got us hooked up with them
You know, have you ever seen something and you're like, that's too advanced for me? You know?
all the time.
Yeah. You're like, I
Couldn't handle it.
can't handle that type of technology.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I feel about these mics.
Well, luckily,
There's buttons.
it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
If they fail, it's on Christopher.
Yep. It's
Nothing
not
we can
on
do
us.
about it. Yeah. And that's nice, in a sense, out of our control.
Yeah.
I feel like Ian has the philosophy in life that if something is going to go wrong, he would rather be the one in control. Like, he doesn't like flying. He would rather be the pilot. I'm the total opposite. I'm like, if something goes wrong, I'd rather have it not be my fault. I don't want to be in
Same.
control.
I don't want that responsibility.
It's like, oh, well, nothing I could have done.
Yep.
Plane's going down.
Yep.
I don't think I could handle it better than a
No.
pilot. Same with driving.
Same.
If I'm going to get in an accident, I want it to be someone else's fault. I don't want it to be my fault.
I most certainly don't want it to be my fault.
Because it would be.
It would be. I'm a terrible driver.
I got into a little fender bender down the street the other day. I got hit by a teacher from our old middle school. Yeah, a teacher from Lincoln Middle School. I was
Who taught us?
No.
Oh.
She was teaching at Moore at the time when we were in middle school.
Oh, no.
I was going up to Quality like 7 a.m. I was running up to Quality
What
shop.
car did you have?
I was driving the truck.
Oh, the truck.
The truck. Ian's truck.
Oh,
I was
his
going
baby.
up to Quality to just grab us a couple of things for breakfast. So it was like stupid also, I was on the road for literally a minute.
Yeah.
It's a 2-minute
You
drive
could've
down the
walked.
street. Yes, but not going to happen.
Nah.
I was going through a 4-way stop. She was coming at me, was supposed to stop. She said her
didn't?
foot slipped off the brake.
Oh.
And so I was like, what is this lady doing? I'm like halfway through the 4-way stop and she's just like coming towards me and not stopping and just like kind of slow motion crunches
Those are
into
the
the front of my
worst when
car.
you're
I was like,
like,
hello. We were like
hi.
making eye contact while she was doing it. I did the whole, throw my arms up in the air, but I felt really bad. She felt really bad. Her car mostly got smashed. Ours was mostly okay. It's got, the grill is kind of fucked up, but
Oh, no.
it was mostly her car, but it was the day before Christmas break, and she's a middle school teacher. I was like, I understand.
No.
I ended up
probably
being
she's probably really upset. about
Yeah,
it.
I bet.
Poor thing.
I ended up being the one to console her, and she felt
You're-
really bad. She
you're a good
apologized a million
person.
times. I was like, it's okay. I was mad at first, but she wasn't being a jerk. She's probably just
Yeah.
tired, and her foot slipped off the
Yeah,
brake.
it's just like one of those things. You can only do so much.
Yes. I was like, it's accidents happen. But I was so fucking annoyed because I had such a busy day. I was just trying to grab a Danish from Quality Shop.
I just need my Danish.
I need my Danish. Yeah, I had taken my meds, but I hadn't had food yet. So I was like so
the clock's
hungry.
Running.
Yes. I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I didn't even call the police because I'm like, this is such a stupid little accident. I think you're technically supposed to.
You're supposed to call the police.
But I was like, please don't.
The non-emergency number, which I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
You think if you call 911, they'd give it to you? 911 was your emergency. I need the non-emergency number, but I need it now.
Please. That's an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think technically you're supposed to call the police, but I was like, let's just not even bother. I need my Danish. And then I went to Quality Shop afterwards and got my Danish.
What kind?
It's a cheese Danish.
Ooh.
I get the same one every time.
Yum.
Yep.
Yum.
All right. Should we get this little show ski on the road?
Yeah,
ski?
I got a good warm-up question.
Okay.
I think you're going to like it.
Well, let's introduce the show first.
God damn it. Yes.
Let's not get carried away.
This is Weirds of a Feather, an ADHD-Adjacent podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Stanhope.
And I'm your host, Grace Beret.
All right.
All right. Now,
can I ask my warm-up question?
Let her rip, please.
Okay. Now that we've done the formalities.
Yes, gotten those technicalities out of the way.
I think you're going to like this because it's about TV, and you love TV.
I do love TV.
All right. If you could have dinner with any, I'm going to call it a crew, but like a group of people from any TV show. It doesn't have to be the main crew. It could be like an adjacent crew.
It could be like the tech people. An adjacent crew.
Like in The Office, like instead of having dinner with like Jim and Pam.
You'd have dinner with like the sound guy.
No.
You mean like supporting actors?
Yeah, like you'd have dinner with the
camera
Schrutes
guy,
or something.
Script writers. Okay.
No, other characters that aren't the main character. It could be the main characters, but it could also be not the main characters.
Am I having dinner with the actors themselves or the characters?
The characters.
Characters. That's a good question. I think I got to go New Girl. Either New Girl or Parks and Rec.
And then what specific characters?
April, obviously. Not Andy, because even though we're talking characters, it's still played by Chris Pratt, and I don't care for that man. So no on Andy's out.
No one does.
I'd like to have probably
I do like Andy the character.
I do too, but
because that was like pre-famous Chris Pratt.
Yes,
you know?
back when he was, I don't know if he was normal or he was just hiding how much of an asshole he is and was waiting for fame.
I knew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back in those innocent days. Probably throw Leslie in there.
Yeah.
Ron Swanson, although I don't know if he'd be very interested in talking to me.
Yeah, I don't know if we would get along, he and I.
Yeah. But either that or I'd like to do, Nick, Jess, Schmidt, Winston, also from New Girl.
Yeah.
Ferguson. Winston and Ferguson about to eat some
Who's
pasta.
Ferguson?
Winston's cat.
Oh,
His smushy face cat.
that's right.
Yeah.
Ferguson.
What about you?
I would do the Belchers.
Ooh.
From Bob's Burgers,
That's a good one.
obviously.
All of them?
Probably all of them. I think it'd be chaotic, and I would have to like go in there, like take a couple deep breaths, because kids. I maybe not have dinner with them, but have dinner adjacent to them, and just kind of be there,
Observe them,
observing. Like they could talk to me, but I don't want to be like the main topic of conversation. I just want to observe them in the wild.
All right, that's a good one. Would you have Gail there?
Of course.
Gail, Mr. Business.
I would have Gail because she's. It's like looking at Gail is like looking into my future.
Nothing wrong with that. I love a little Gail.
But then also, the food's gonna be good because they're gonna make burgers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah? So it's a win-win for me.
Exactly. Maybe Tina could read you a little bit of her friend fiction. What is it? Erotic
friend fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't like that?
Right?
Besides her friends.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Well,
right. Should we
get into a little
cartwheel on into this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we call it? Slumble? Shumble?
Shumble.
Shumble?
Yes. Yeah, we're calling it shumble. Let's shumble on into this.
We had like a term. I don't know what it was.
It's going to be slap and tumble.
Slap and
slumble.
stumble. Strumble. Oh, we thought about it.
I think slap and tumble sounds too much like slap and tickle. And so I think we should just call it
Is that
shrumble. Let's shrumble on into this.
slap and tickle?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. Is it like a sexual thing? The old slap and tickle? Anyways, let's shrumble on into this. This is nothing.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be doing that?
Slap and tickle? No.
Okay. Good.
just
Because I'm not. I
I don't really know what it means.
slap and tickle.
Hold on. Cue the music.
I just.
Oh, it's British English. The
Yeah.
old slap and tickle.
Yeah.
It means it's British, informal, and old-fashioned, I guess, term for sexual play. They were having a bit of slap and tickle.
Oh.
So I was right. It is just kind of general sexual activity.
Okay.
A British term. The old slap
That's
and tickle.
really funny, and we should definitely bring that back.
All right, should we slap and tickle
No,
on
I
into
mean
this
not
episode?
in that way.
Okay.
No, okay, yeah. Let's not slap and tickle our way into the next segment. Maybe let's
Shrumble.
shrumble.
Yep.
Shrumble, and here we go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Yep.
All right, fucking let's get into
Little
little accomplishments. This is nothing. This is nothing. All right. Little accomplishments, but big in our hearts.
Yeah. I always think it needs a yeah at the end.
Yeah, add it. Add it in.
Magnet.
All right, Kristen, what did you accomplish?
I undecked the house.
Undecked.
You know how you deck the halls?
Yeah,
And you have to undeck.
So you undecked the halls?
I undecked the halls.
You put all your Christmas decor away?
Almost. It's in boxes in the living room, and I just have to put the boxes away.
Pretty impressive.
Except for the Christmas tree, which I need assistance. But that's okay.
You got a good start.
All the ornaments are off. Well, I had to because we were under siege. And I think I already discussed this in Enya's episode, but our cat has taken over our lives, and I haven't gotten a moment's peace since we've put up our Christmas decorations. So although I am sad to see them go, I am happy to not deal with them.
Yeah, that sounds like a reason to not have cats.
The other two are fine, and they could care less about the Christmas tree. And it's just this one peaceful angel in particular who's driving me bananas.
Oh, he just wants to play.
He does want to play, and we do play. That's the thing. It's like, oh, maybe he's just bored. Bored with what? Bored with the 45 minutes of play every Saturday morning that he gets? Bored with the big giant one of those cat wheels that we got him, or the whole friggin' jungle gym we have in the basement? This cat has everything.
Hear that, John Ralphio?
He's got everything.
Ungrateful son of a bitch.
He has literally everything. We do all the things. It's just not enough.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell myself. Anyway, so yeah,
But
Grace,
congrats.
what did you do? What did you accomplish?
I used a gift card that I got for last Christmas. I think one was from last Christmas. I hadn't used it in a year. And I think the other one to the same bookshop might have been from my birthday the year before that.
Well, there you go.
So
Two
I've been
birds
sitting
in
on
one
these,
stone.
right? I've been sitting on these 2 gift cards for over a year.
Mhm.
Been meaning to go to the bookstore for over a year. I finally did. I
Nice.
was Christmas shopping with my mom. She got me the gift cards.
Did you get it for?
I got it for myself.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you get it for a Christmas present for this year?
No, I bought myself a little treat. Bought myself a little
Oh.
book.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was proud of myself for
You wanna hear-
using a gift card.
A funny story
Sure.
about. So every year, our family gets together, and rather than getting gifts for everybody, we decide to do like a Yankee swap. And for those of you, or some people call it a white elephant.
Isn't a white elephant different from a Yankee
Yeah,
swap?
it's a little different because the white elephant you get as a silly gift.
Yeah.
We do Yankee swap, which is white elephant, but not so silly. And
So a Yankee swap.
Yeah.
So not a white elephant.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I said. We do a Yankee swap, which is a white elephant, but not silly. That's what I meant
Okay.
to say.
Okay.
If I didn't say that, that's what I meant to say.
That's what she meant.
That's what. But so, Christopher,
I know him.
week leading up to Christmas, I go, don't forget, like, got to get a Yankee swap for the family Yankee swap. I was like, we have a cap on it. It's like $20. Boom. And he's like, yep. He's like, my family loves scratchies. That's like the thing that always goes.
And so I was like, why don't you just go down to the store and get a scratch-off ticket for people not from Maine.
Scratchy.
Scratchy. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Christmas Eve night, he goes, I forgot a gift. And I was like, oh my God.
Classic.
I'm like, you gotta figure something out. I don't know what to tell you. I was like, you want to you have a bottle of liquor you want to give up that's not open, or like, what do you want to do? And so he's like, I'll re-gift. He found it's like a gag gift, and it's Spam socks in a Spam container. So it's like Spam, like the food Spam.
Yes.
And so definitely re-gift it. When did he get it? At the Yankee Swap last year. And he's like, this will be fine. And I was
Everyone's
like, okay.
gonna know.
Everybody forgot except for the person who gave that gift.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, well, you can't just give socks. I was like, why don't you just put a $20 bill in there and call it a day? And he's like, okay. And that's what we did. And so my cousin picks out the gift, and she's like unwrapping it, and she's like, oh, cute little Spam socks. And then she like takes out the 20. She's like, ooh, 20 cash. And everybody's like, oh, that's a good gift. We love cash. And then she's like, oh, what's this? A fucking gift card to a restaurant for $25 that we forgot about. We both go, oh, shit. And
Going over the limit.
They're like, wow, this is a really good gift, Christopher. You really shouldn't have. And I'm like, yeah, you really shouldn't have.
You should not have.
Whoops. He's so quirky.
Yeah. Made everyone else look bad also.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the person who got him the socks also got him the gift card. And they were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was my aunt who was like, oh, you guys. She's so nice. She's like, you're so silly.
So silly. You guys are so quirky.
Yeah. Whoops. Well, nice.
All right. Well, as you usually say, pish posh, oh gosh, let's get into it.
That's absolutely not what
That's
I say.
So you always say that.
That so much. It's so clunky.
The more you hate it, the more I'm going to say it.
It sounds like you're stumbling down the stairs as you say it.
Yeah.
Pish posh. That's what it sounds like.
That's kind of our podcast.
Yeah, I know, but I just
it's one big tumble down the stairs.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
The more you hate it, the more I like it. So I hope you know that.
We have meat today.
Yes, all right.
I don't know how to transition any.
We have meat today.
It is the meat. It's meat.
It's meat.
We have meat. It is the meat. That's our thing.
Yeah.
So a while back, we talked about imposter syndrome. And then I was like, we'll make a part 2 discussing ADHD. Well,
we love to say
here
that.
we are. Well, no, we're following through. We actually did it. And for some reason, it took a little piece of my soul. But here we are. We've done it.
It's the holidays.
It's been
struggling.
Yes.
But we're here.
And we've done it. So to recap, a couple episodes ago, we talked about imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon, imposterism, whatever you want to call it. In brief, imposter syndrome is a phenomenon where one, even though they're highly skilled or an expert in their field, they perceive themselves as fake or phony in that area, even thinking maybe they're going to be found out or discovered being fake. And as we kind of discussed, like, why this was happening among people, specifically in minority groups, and kind of like looking into, there's a bunch of like self-help TED Talks and podcasts and BuzzFeed articles saying like, 10 ways to cure your imposter syndrome. It's more, what we kind of discovered is that there's more of like a systemic issue dealing with ableism and racism, misogyny, homophobia, all of the bigotry. And and if you want to learn more, please go back and listen to part 1, because that's what we talked about. Yep. There was some yelling involved, per usual.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get yelling.
You're gonna get yelling, yeah. And I think it all in all was a good episode. But what we're here to do today is discuss specifically why people with ADHD, people with autism, people with AuDHD have imposterism and what we can do about it. So that's what we're doing.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So why are ADHDers, why are neurodivergents, why are they, quote, at risk for imposterism? And I want to say, going back to our first episode, reason number one may be due to ableism.
Chestnut.
Yeah. Yeah, the world is set up to be for neurotypicals. You have, the modern day workforce runs on a 9-to-5 schedule. It runs on routine. It runs on doing the same thing every day. And that's really the opposite of what a neurodivergent brain would prefer.
Well, some autistic brains prefer that, but there are other elements to that, like the sensory aspect of things,
Right.
the self-regulation stuff, the executive functioning aspects that also make that
Yeah.
inaccessible
I guess that was
for
more of
autistic
an
people.
example. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not set up for a neurodivergent brain. It is set up for the neurotypical brain. It is set up for the majority. One study, which I did link in below, they were studying imposterism in ADHD, and they kind of noticed that a lot of neurodivergent people would enter into creative fields that have a more flexible schedule, or not really a typical office job, or they would work for themselves. And I thought that was interesting because what we were going to kind of talk in a little bit about is, working for yourselves. You don't have a boss to answer to or to do things to a specific way.
I think ADHDers are 6 times more likely to be entrepreneurs.
Yes, that's exactly what they were talking about. Yeah. And that comes for ADHD specifically. They were kind of theorizing maybe it's our impulsivity too, willingness to take risks. But with autism, not so much. But that's...
Well, I feel like with autism and ADHD, but autism especially, you have that strong reaction to injustice where, a lot of things in the workplace are set up on hierarchy, where it's not necessarily the smartest person who's best at the job who's going to be the CEO, obviously. It's going to be the white man usually who could, use his position or use his social connections to move their way up. And that can be extremely frustrating to watch as, a neurodivergent person who doesn't handle that injustice well, who believes in equity and equality and thinks that,
I was just talking to someone about this who shall remain nameless, but at their work, they hired a new manager, and their friend was who's been working there for a while, was kind of hoping to get this manager position. Instead, they hire a person who has quit, not just left 2 weeks notice, but suddenly quit twice. But she has manager experience, so they hired her again
from the
third.
the same company. What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And so
I would quit on the spot.
So this person is seeing their friend who's trying to get this manager position. And obviously the person who's trying to get the position is really upset.
Yeah.
But also the person who's seeing this happen, who is very much a neurospicy. And I can tell you, can you bleep out the name?
Yeah. Okay.
And, they're very upset as well because it is one terrible decision.
Yeah.
And two, they're having a very strong reaction to this injustice because one, it's a dumb decision. Who's making these decisions? And, and it's hard to see, a person you care about be hurt like that. And so...
And that's the thing with that strong reaction to injustice. It's not just about you. It's also about watching it happen to other people. I think a lot of times autistic people can kind of be seen as selfish or self-serving. But I would be just as mad watching that happen to a coworker as I would be watching it happen to me.
Extreme empathy is what it is, I would say.
I cannot stand it.
Right. And I think it's hard for people with autism and people with ADHD to just sit there and take it, I guess. Is that what I'm just saying oh, well, that's how the world works. Life isn't fair. No, it's not fair, but that's bullshit. And
if you have the power to make it more fair, I think it's bullshit when you're well, that's how the world works. The world works based on how we move throughout the world. You are a part of the world. Choose a more equitable decision, and the world doesn't have to be quite as unfair.
Right. Or yes, and like seeing things run inefficiently,
Yes.
and just dealing with it.
And people being like, oh, well, that's how we
just
do it.
how we've always done it.
And it doesn't make sense, especially when you are autistic. And I have been thinking a lot about this recently. I feel like Ian sometimes thinks that I need to always be right. But no, I don't need to be right. I need for things to be correct, whether that information is coming from me, coming from him, coming from the internet. It's not about me. I don't personally, it's not about my ego. I always need to be right. I need for information to be accurate. And it drives me crazy because the world doesn't operate that way.
Right.
And it should. Like, you would just assume it would.
Wouldn't it be nice if it did?
Yes. And it's like, I feel like the world can be so gaslighty when you're like, well, this is clearly a better way to do it. So like logically, this would be the best way to do
Right.
it. And people are just like, act like you're nuts for proposing you do that.
Yeah.
And it's like so infuriating. It's
Right.
hard to watch. So a lot of us, I feel like, just don't even bother. And
Yeah.
we try to work on our own.
Yes.
I also feel like PDA autism, especially that pervasive drive for autonomy, can lead to it being even more so difficult to work for a boss because, don't fucking tell me what to do, especially if what you're telling me to do is like nonsense.
Right. Another reason why is that what could lead to imposterism is stigma. ADHD, I think in particular, has a stigma of people being like lazy and distracted and unmotivated. And as we know, that's just simply not true. And in the right environment, the opposite is true. I think with a stigma of ADHD, I think that causes people with ADHD to work harder to prove to not only themselves, but to others that, they can do these things. They can be given tasks. They can multitask. They're not lazy. They can meet deadlines. But it's really hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't achieve those goals. But even if we do, I think since it takes so much to achieve those goals, we don't really think of it as achieving our goals.
Yeah, it's really like we're always just trying to like catch up or stay on the
Right.
surface. So we never feel like we've accomplished things. It's like we just haven't lost. We haven't failed, I guess.
Right, exactly. And yeah, exactly. And we don't really take this time to recognize our own achievements because it took so much to get there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And I think the stigma of people with ADHD being lazy and distracted and all these things which really can kind of like hinder your own self-worth in your career, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I also think when we're talking about these things, I know this episode is going to focus on ADHD and autism, but as we're talking about ableism, I also think it's important to keep in mind like other disabilities as well beyond neurodivergences. Like let's say you have a chronic pain condition, or chronic fatigue condition or any type of physical disability, medical disability, even, things like fat phobia. There's all these studies about how fat people are treated in the workplace. They're given,
terribly.
less, lower salaries, fewer raises, fewer opportunities based purely on weight discrimination. And those are like really important aspects that we don't like think about or talk about as much, especially, the fat phobia and everything. So I also just want to throw that out there if you're, dealing with any of that additional stuff. Every additional marginalization that you have as a person is only going to compile on top of each other, So if you are trans and Indigenous and you have,
like a chronic
multiple
disease.
chronic illness, multiple disabilities, whether it's a visible or invisible disability, like all of those just fucking compile on top of each other. And then, of course, you're going to feel imposter syndrome because the system has pretty much told you don't belong here.
It's also a broken system, like especially people with chronic disease, they may need to take more time off. And so they may use up their regular leave, but then have to take unpaid leave. And they're, seen as people, they're always skipping work.
Yes.
Like, no, they have a chronic disease.
Yes, but it's the same thing as with ADHD where people just assume you're being lazy, you're unmotivated. It's like, no, like my energy baseline level is so much lower than everyone else's.
Right.
And yeah, especially in a culture that associates like disease and disability with like morality. I feel like we so look down upon anyone who, does have a chronic health condition or a disability, and really they have nothing to do with each other. So not to throw in that ableism, the standard Grace ableism rant in there. But yeah, I think we left that out of the last episode. And I think that's important to mention as well, that, all types of disabilities along with neurodivergence.
Exactly. Another topic I want to talk about is rejection sensitive dysphoria. We spent a whole episode on this. ADHD is highly associated with the rejection sensitive dysphoria, and a fear of rejection can lead to perfectionism, and as we kind of discussed in the last episode, this over prepped pathway, or even the procrastination pathway that leads to this imposterism, where you either feel the need to be perfect, so you prep for either a presentation or a deadline or something like that, or you procrastinate because you don't want, you don't even want to work on it because you don't want to fail. So you procrastinate until the very last deadline. Yeah, that's very much you.
Yep. Yes. But I also have that perfectionism. It's
you
like
do.
I think
both. Yours is you want it to be perfect. And to me, it seems like I don't even want to start because I know... I guess my thinking is what you're thinking. What I think you're thinking.
Tell me.
Yeah. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is that your brain is like, when I start, I know it's going to be a rough draft and it's not going to be perfect. And I don't want to start because I don't want that failure.
Yes.
Even though it's not even failure, it's a rough draft.
And I think that also ties into my invisible audience thing, where I feel like I'm always being watched and observed. I can't even let my invisible audience see me doing a rough draft.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even put it on
rejection sensitivity.
Yeah, because I'm like, what if someone came and read this? Which is so fucked up.
What if one of my invisible people read it?
Yeah, and they would know that I wasn't
invisibly laughed at
perfect.
me.
Yeah, they would know that it was stupid. It's almost like hard for me to write something as a rough draft and then like see that it's a rough draft myself.
Yes.
I'm like so hypercritical. I think I'm like looking at things through other people's eyes always. I'm not looking at it through my own lens. I'm like always looking at everything I do through this like critical lens of other people, which is terrible.
That's
Not
awful.
that's
not
great.
a way to live.
That's not healthy.
It's not great.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you don't even want to start because you know that rough draft isn't going to be perfect.
Yep.
So you procrastinate to the last minute.
Yep.
Whereas I'm more of the over prepper, where I can't write enough drafts. It's like I'm writing to get it right.
Yep. And I think that also ties into the executive dysfunction that comes with autism, which is that inability to get started on things if you can't see the clear path of how to do every single step along the way.
Right.
And you can't see how it's going to turn out. Like, if I don't know what the result of something will be, I have the hardest time starting it, because it's like, this could all be a waste of time, or maybe I won't know how to do it. So it's like my executive dysfunction from the autism side really gets in my way.
I completely agree. I think that's why these 2 episodes were really hard for me to write, because both of them went in a really different way than what I was expecting. I think I have like a semi-mental template of how most of my episodes go. And this kind of went in it's a different from what I'm used to writing. And it was kind of like developed as I was writing it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a clear, like this, I didn't have like a clear outline, and it was really difficult for me to write. But here we are, and I'm glad it's done. And we're recording it now in real time.
Yeah, you've done it. You did a good job.
Well, thank you.
I think we're not done yet.
No, yeah. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah.
Just a little mid-episode
we'll take a
update.
break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Call in.
Take some feedback.
I also want the rejection sensitive dysphoria, it really does tie in with perfectionism and people pleasing, which we could once again spend a whole episode on, but specifically people pleasing. But we won't. We will talk a little bit about perfectionism. Grace, you were kind of noticing that with autism, the autistic brain notices all these little details, and they're processing, the neurodivergent brain is processing so much more information than there's no filter, right? So it's hard to filter out all these unnecessary details.
We don't have synaptic pruning. Babies.
Oh, what a term. Wait a minute.
I need to do a whole episode on this.
Pruning.
Yes.
Like
so essentially,
a bonsai tree.
yeah, that's a good way to think of it. So when When we're all babies,
yes,
your synapses are firing and building upon each other and building new synapses. Yeah, think of it as like roots or tree branches all spreading out. And as you grow up as a baby, you're, having more and more synapses, and your brain is branching out into all these different areas. Then for allistic brains, so non-autistic brains, you have what's called synaptic pruning, where your brain determines what is and isn't important stuff to keep. So for allistic baby's brain, as they get older, all those branches that have been grown, the brain will eventually prune those back down, because it'll be like, well, you don't need all of this information. This is redundant. This is extra. Like, you don't actually need to remember how to do this because you're no longer a baby, whatever it is. It cuts those down like a bonsai. You're trimming it down so you can have a healthy, growing, efficient brain. The autistic brain does not experience synaptic pruning. So we're fucking keeping all of those tree branches, all of those roots that have spread out. Yeah, we're keeping all of those branches. So we're not getting the synaptic pruning the way that allistic brains are. That's why we have so much more going on in our brains, which I feel like sounds like it could be a brag, but it's really not, because it's very, very inefficient.
It's so inefficient. And that kind of ties into the bottom up versus top down thinking too. If, you are processing all this information, you're thinking from the bottom up rather than like this top down, which we both agree is probably much more efficient. And so it takes so much more time to go through all those little details and figure out what's important, what's not important, what should be included, what shouldn't be included, all that time. And that takes so much time, and you're constantly going through this in your brain of like, what should I keep? What should I not keep? What's important? What's not important? And it's enough to like drive you bananas. Of like, and if you talk to an autistic person about their like subject of choice, everything's important.
Yes.
There's no way they can like, you can't talk to them and say, here's a 10-minute presentation. You can't get it in 10, you can't get enough information in 10 minutes, because it's almost impossible for them to like narrow down what's important, what's not important.
I stay up at night thinking about my Samhain Halloween informative info dump, because I didn't have enough time to give all the information, and it like keeps me up at night, where I'm like, I left all this stuff out. Like, I just feel so guilty about it because I didn't give enough information. There's so much more.
We'll have to go back.
I know.
Next Halloween.
I might have to revisit it.
And
it's like me highlighting things. I'm terrible at highlighting because
everything's important. Yes, yeah.
And then I have different colored highlightings, because pink is especially important, and then orange is like extra,
you're not even like
important.
Retaining information. You're just highlighting.
Yeah, so just finding interesting bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like a library, where allistic people's brains, once they've gone through that synaptic pruning, now they have, only what they really need, and they can easily search their library and find the information. Whereas us, we might have 50 copies of the same book in different editions, and it's, we have the whole collection of books on this one topic when really you only need one. And we may have more information in there, like if you need to know, what my shoes looked like in 1997, I could probably tell you, but like, that's not necessary information.
Yeah.
So, those brains can be really clutch for very specific reasons, like especially if you have a job where you need to know this like information super in depth, it can be great for that. But just moving through day-to-day life, it's so much arduous work to search these fucking millions of brain files.
Right. And then if you're if you have this kind of perfectionism where you're like, well, everything's important and you can't cut it out. But if you're forced to, do a presentation within a certain amount of time, or have all the information, like I know in college we did a lot of poster presentations for research, and you're like, I can't fit everything on a poster. There's so much more I want to talk about. And
or like when they say your resume is only supposed to be one page, I'm like, how?
Well,
what do you mean
CV
one
is supposed
page?
to be longer. So you have both. You have one.
Even then, I'm like, one page.
It's hard.
I just can't do it. I can't chop things down.
I know. It's tough.
It sucks.
It sucks. And so, so it might be because even though you're an expert and your work may be perfect to even like your coworkers or your boss, if you don't perceive it as perfect, then you may develop this kind of imposter phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And people pleasing is another big thing, but I think we're going to just save it for another day. because I think I don't know if it's really like neurodivergent specific, but we could definitely
It definitely is. I mean, I think all people, are capable of it, but I do think, like with all of these topics, when you have a neurodivergent brain, it kind of like takes it to the next level.
Right.
To the next level.
in the worst possible way.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about masking.
Oh, well, do you want to talk about the perfectionism that comes with ADHD?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Because I think that's
a
good area to cover.
Yeah. And this is, once again, you mentioned this, but I liked it, so I put it in. So with ADHD, you may have this perfectionism, but you also have this like deep shame about like forgetting details or forgetting deadlines or always, moving the goalpost forward. And you don't perceive yourself as perfect and you don't perceive your work as perfect, but it might be perfect. That's like the whole thing, right? Imposterism. I don't know if it's perfect.
I mean, it could or could not. But I think the big thing is that, like, I think we're so critical of ourselves and we're so hard on ourselves. Part of it is because we've had so much harsh feedback and we do take it harder than other people, where it's like those feel so much.
That's the rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
So it feels so much more cutting to us. And so we develop a lot of shame. Rejection sensitive dysphoria is a nervous system response. Your nervous system is being activated when you perceive this rejection because it could be a threat, to your livelihood, to your job, to whatever. And so I think we take those rejections harder. And also, it does seem like we do tend to be shamed more for things that other people are doing, too.
Yeah.
But it's like something about us. People can just sense that there's something different about us. And so it seems to be pointed out with us a lot more. Whereas, like, lots of people in the world are very successful at their jobs or have good jobs, and they're not doing everything perfectly. But it feels like, because we're always trying to keep up with everything else, and we always feel like there's so many moving parts that we could forget or we could miss or we could, leave out, that it just feels like we're always scrambling to keep on top of all our little, like, nest eggs of tasks we have to do. And so, like, of course, you're going to have a lot more anxiety around forgetting those things because you can't just naturally, like, stay on top of them.
Right.
So it can lead to a lot of, like, obsession, really, because it's like, if I don't obsess, then let my guard down, and then things will fall apart.
Exactly. And it won't be as great.
Yeah. And that can be really debilitating.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Same with masking. That can be debilitating.
Yes. Absolutely.
So masking, I don't think we've ever like officially talked about masking, but
I don't know. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. Yeah, I don't think we haven't done an episode
we haven't done an episode about masking, but basically masking is just kind of like changing your behavior to fit in. And it's usually in reference to neurodivergence, especially in autism, where you change your, almost like you're wearing a mask. You're hiding your natural behaviors to fit in with the holistic people.
Yeah. And I think, like, some people talk about it in terms of, like, it's like we're trying to be neurotypicals, but it's not even that. Yeah. It's that we're trying to hide our neurodivergent traits because we've been told that they're wrong or they're shameful or they're embarrassing.
You shouldn't be doing your arm flapping when you're upset. You shouldn't be stimming or, bouncing your leg when you have too much energy. Or
you should be making eye contact.
Right.
You should be, laughing a certain way when someone says this thing.
Your story should have a beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it just goes on and on.
Okay? Just stick with me.
Or things, masking your sensory needs, things like that. Like, let's say you work in an office and they have fucking fluorescent bright lights on, and, you're really sensitive to fluorescent lights. You either need to try to talk to someone about changing them, which then everyone else will be mad at you and they'll be like, no, that's a ridiculous accommodation. Or you just have to, like, fucking suffer through it, which wears on your nervous system.
Blue light glasses. I don't wear glasses, but I wear these blue light glasses, and I order them off a website that begins with an A. But I get, like, the extra yellowy tinted ones because there's no way I can tell the hospital, can you please shut off all your fluorescent lights, because that's all they have.
Yep.
But I can get extra yellowy glasses to give everything a little bit more of a yellow tint. And everybody asks, like, oh, what do you wear glasses? And I'm like, no, I don't wear, not for prescription purposes, but do I want to have a headache and feel like I'm losing my mind at the end of the day? No. Yeah. So I wear these. I feel better.
And I think we, kind of think of masking as just mostly social skills, but it really is important to keep in mind that it is all of those little sensory things as well. Like, the temperature that people keep it in the office, the, noises going on all around you. It's like you have to be the one to accommodate yourself.
Right.
And if there's no way to accommodate yourself, like you're fucked. Just deal with it.
Right.
And be uncomfortable and pretend like you're not.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
So even if you do have the knowledge, the expertise in your field, you still might be masking other aspects of the job too. So you may be, this might be like the way you communicate information, social interactions between coworkers, responding to your boss. You may feel like an imposter because you're masking your real self in order to kind of like get by at work, and not even with like your actual job, but just like the social aspects. Like, how do you respond to an email? You can't just like blurt off the information and say, "Okay, thanks, bye."
Yep.
You have to, use all this like corporate lingo, and let's circle back and like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't respond to emails, but that's what I've been told.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. I look at them, but I don't respond. And then with autism especially comes with this difficulty. I don't want to say inability, because I think it's all a spectrum, and some people have better social cue reading than others.
Yep.
But it's still a difficulty with reading social cues and kind of navigating social situations. And you may feel like you're overcompensating or you don't belong because it's difficult to decipher those social cues.
Yeah, which I feel like isn't always talked about when it comes to imposter syndrome, but I thought it was a really important aspect of it, that even if you do have all of this knowledge, especially if you're autistic, you might have huge brain files of more knowledge than anyone could ever want on this topic. But yeah, if you're masking the more social aspects of the job, which is half the fucking job, is to, say hello to people properly in the morning and, have chit chat at the water cooler and respect the hierarchy of the office. And if you're not good at that stuff, then people are going to discriminate against you. And so that can lead us to feeling like imposters too, like we're hiding the secret, because we kind of are, Even if we have the knowledge, if we're not able to communicate it in a way that people will respond positively to,
exactly,
we have to either say it anyways and people won't like us, or we have to pretend and kind of play along with this way of interacting in a, presenting this information in a way people find pleasing. And then we are being kind of imposters. So of course you feel like you're an imposter, because it's like you got this little secret.
It is. And I know and communication is key, right? It is important for you in any job to communicate effectively information. That's, how the human race has survived, is communicating this information through, whatever means, verbal, writings, hieroglyphics, whatever. But the social cues, if you have to read those social cues, that's so difficult.
And a lot of times, it's not just social cues, because there are a lot of social cues. There are a lot of social cues that I feel like I do pick up on if they make sense, but it's those implied social rules
that you don't agree with, that you're just like, I'm not going to follow this because this is dumb.
Yes, either that you don't agree with or that you don't know about. Like the whole thing where your boss asks you why you were late and he doesn't actually want your answer. He wants you to say sorry. That's a rule I just found out 6 months ago.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah. And so even things like that, and I think with autism, once again, we're so black and white. We get so caught up on like, well, I can socialize just fine. I can socialize just fine when it's a group of my friends or a group of other neurodivergent people or people I feel comfortable with. But then if you put me in this like office setting where it's like all these unspoken rules of how you're supposed to
What's
interact
too much
with
information?
people.
I don't know.
Yes, right information to share.
How much information do I share?
Yep.
That's the other thing. It's like, I know you asked me about my weekend, but I know you don't really want to know. You're just being polite. So it's navigating like, how much information do I tell you without seeming rude? Because I'll talk your ear off if you want me to.
Yes.
But I also have stuff to do, so I need to like get going. So like, how much information do I share?
Yep. What's the appropriate amount?
Right.
And I think we end up overcompensating a lot socially and work-wise, because there are also those unspoken rules when it comes to a lot of jobs where it's like, well, this isn't explicitly written in your job instructions, but, you should just take initiative on this thing. You should just know to do this. And it's like, we always feel like we're missing one of those things that no one's saying to us, but everyone's like, can't believe she's not picking up on that or doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think that also leads to a lot of masking and anxiety because, we don't know the appropriate amount of, is this too much to do? Is this too little to do? And so I feel like I'm always missing something. There's always something socially or work-wise that like everyone knows this and everyone just knows that you should be doing this and I'm just not doing it. It's not because I'm lazy or because I don't want to do it. It's because no one's told me and I don't just take initiative on things often because I don't know what that would be.
Right. I have an office manager who is on our side. She doesn't know it, but she is. And then I have my boss, and he's like, oh, the only thing about her is that she never takes initiative. And I'm like, yeah, but when you tell her to do the task, doesn't she do it perfectly? And he's like, yes. And I was like, okay, then what is the problem? And he was like, well, I guess I never thought about it like that before.
Oh, look at you getting
know.
someone in a accommodation.
I know. I was like, she just probably just needs to be told what to do, which is fine. If she does it perfectly, I'd rather have that than someone who takes initiative and screws it up or does something that I don't need them to do, you know?
Or we try to take initiative, but it's the wrong thing.
It's the wrong thing.
And then people get mad
You're
at us.
taking initiative on the wrong thing, or you're like overstepping.
Yes.
That you didn't know that you were overstepping.
Yes. There are times where I'm like, I'm going to take initiative on this. I recognize this as a problem and I see a solution. And then I do it and people are like, why'd you do that?
Right.
I'm like, oh. And then you have that RSD. You feel so much shame.
I've done that so many times.
And then you're too scared to take initiative in the future.
Like, so proud of yourself that you'd like, look at me getting things done.
They'll be so happy. Yeah.
And they're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, who did this?
Who did this? And you're like, oh, no.
Yes.
Who did this perfectly?
Yes.
God damn it.
And I feel like that accommodation of, you need to be told what to do. I feel like a lot of people look at that as like being lazy once again. But I can take initiative on things if I've already seen the routine and then I come in the next day and I know the routine. And I can do it. But just coming up with what to do, I'm like, I have no idea.
That's the thing. Like certain projects, like... For an office manager, she's juggling a lot of hats, but every once in a while...
Is that the saying?
Yeah.
No. She's wearing a lot of hats. She's juggling a lot of hats. She's juggling a lot of balls. She's wearing a lot of hats.
Always happens. What is wrong with me?
You were so confident.
I'm surprised you caught that because I was
imagining someone juggling hats.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's not a common item to juggle. Yeah. Fucking caps for sale over here.
Caps for sale. Oh, what a stressful book. We've already talked about it, but it is a really stressful book.
Anyways, sorry. She's juggling a lot of hats.
She's juggling a lot of hats.
Getting by the skin of her lips.
And... Oh my God. Well, I think that should be the episode title. Juggling hats.
I'll work it in there.
I know you will. Oh, I have to sneeze now. Lately, I've been having a lot of dad sneezes. Scare the living shit out of me.
Scream?
Yeah, I can't help it.
I hate those.
I scare myself. I woke Christopher from a dead sleep. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, just having a dad sneeze.
It is a dad sneeze.
So she's multitasking.
Yeah.
She's a lot on her plate.
A lot of hats on her plate.
There's so many hats.
To eat.
Fedoras, caps.
Visors.
Yeah. Earmuffs. Are earmuffs hats?
No. They are not. They're accessories.
Own entity.
Earmuffs were invented in Farmington, Maine.
Get out.
Fun fact for you.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully. That's a fact that I know. Hopefully it's right.
That's such a... do you have earmuffs?
No.
I also don't own earmuffs, but I feel like I should now.
Yeah. A solidarity. What if we made our slogan, Maine, home of the earmuff? That'd be nice.
Instead of, what's our slogan right now? Open for business.
Open for business.
Ugh.
It's fucking stupid.
It sounds so awful.
It should be
Vacation Land.
Yes.
Because it's always been Vacation Land.
Yes.
And then someone
or isn't
decided...
it the way things should be? Is that
the way
we were.
Something like that. The way life should be or something like that. It was something cute. And then they're like, how do we make this worse? Let's take something that's not broken and that everybody loves and let's ruin it.
Let's add in capitalism.
Yeah.
Open for business.
That's going to make me take my business elsewhere.
Yeah.
Only Mainers are laughing right now. That's okay.
A little local humor.
Locals.
Local jokes get local work. That's what they say. All right, so what should we do about this imposter syndrome, Kristen?
Yeah. Not much. No, we discussed in our last episode that this is more a systemic issue. There's no like quick fix or individualized plan. There's no meditation or self-help that's going to like solve this entirely. However, talking about it and being more aware of it, either in yourself or systemically in chatting amongst yourselves, like your coworkers, if you're like, wow, I feel really incompetent right now, hopefully your coworkers will be like, no, you're being crazy. Your work is great. You're doing a great job.
Or they're like, we've all been thinking it. So
we actually have a meeting at 3:00.
Yeah. Your worst thoughts are confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah. So talking about it, being more aware of it in yourselves and your coworkers and others systemically is very, very helpful. You know, if I think like we said last time, if you're, chatting with your coworkers and saying like, I feel like the boss is always ragging on me. I can't do anything right. I'm like the worst employee. Maybe your coworkers point out like, actually, no, he's picking on you and it's really weird and we're all uncomfortable with it. Right? Like,
and at least you have confirmation.
Now you have confirmation that like, that's, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's a him or a her issue. So anyway, being more aware of it is the number one key. And I know I chatted about this last episode too, but there is a podcast called I Have ADHD podcast, and she did an episode about imposter syndrome, and at the end she said, and I think she was going in a drastically different direction than I went in, but here we are, and she said in the end you have to think of yourself like, are you actually an imposter? Do you have a medical degree? Did you pass the bar and now you have a license to practice law? Do you have advanced degrees in your field? Have you won awards? Are you actually an imposter? Are you actually like incompetent? Thinking about the bigger pictures. And so in lieu of that, I kind of took it in a different direction. And I think you listeners, I can't say for every single one of you because I haven't met all of you, but most of you are not imposters.
There's a few of you out there, but most of you are
not. I'm sure there's a couple
who are faking it.
But to further make my point, I made an actual list of actual imposters throughout history, and I'd like to share them with you.
Wonderful. So you can be like, hey, at least I'm not an imposter like this. That guy's really an imposter.
That guy's like the worst.
And he pulled it off. He got away with it for a long time.
A lot of these stories are you're just like, wow, I can't believe they like actually pulled it off.
I feel like it's helpful as a reminder. Instead of reminding yourself that you're competent enough, remind yourself that less competent people than you have pulled it off and gotten away with it.
Way bigger things.
Yeah. So you can pull it off too. Even if you are an imposter, fuck it. No one's going to notice probably. Yeah.
Right? So let's get into it. Ready? Yep. First guy is Frank Abagnale. Yes.
Yeah.
So this guy, he was a con artist in the 60s who posed as a pilot, most notoriously on Pan Air Airlines. He also was a doctor, and he forged thousands of checks. He was the inspiration for the movie Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. Later, he was caught by the FBI, and they used him as a resource for check fraud.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that guy was putting people's lives at risk,
He posed as an actual doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a pilot. He was flying people around.
Well, no, I think he got like free rides.
Oh.
He didn't actually fly the plane.
That's a good idea.
But we'll get into it. There was another guy who actually did operate on people. Anna Anderson was a lady in the 1920s who claimed to be Anastasia, the lost daughter of the Russian royal family.
Oh, of the movie Anastasia?
Yes.
Oh.
Turns out that was false, and they did a DNA test in the 90s, and that wasn't true.
So she got away with it and, like, died?
No, I think there was always, like, she claimed that this was her, and there was always, like, some contention, and she had, like, people who believed her and people who didn't believe her, and then they finally, in the 90s, did a DNA test, and they're like, yeah, no.
But it sounds like even though some people doubted her, she still was like, well, this is me, and just like got away with it anyways.
Yeah.
You can just kind of force your way through, even if people know that you're a fraud.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can just keep on pushing.
You just don't break
Just stick
character.
with the lie.
Yeah.
Remember,
don't break character.
It's not a lie if you believe it. George Costanza.
This one's my favorite. Darius McCullum. He is a gentleman with autism. He's fascinated by trains.
This guy who drives the trains?
Yes.
I love him.
He's been arrested 26 times. 26 times for impersonating a New York City transit worker, even going as far as driving an actual train when he's 15 years old. And the article I was reading is from Times, and they're like they've had like psych, to talk to him and everything, and he has no plans on stopping this behavior.
He's incredible at it, right? He does it perfectly.
Yes.
Trains
and
are his
because he's
special
been
interest.
arrested, it's his special interest. He does it so well. He knows everything about the New York City transit system, but because of all his like felonies from being arrested from driving the trains, he cannot
get a
work
job
for the transit company.
It's too bad he couldn't have just started off as a train driver.
Oh my God, he would have been perfect.
It's like once you steal one train, they're not going to let you be in charge of other
know.
trains. So what are you going to do?
What about NYC? What if you went to like a different city?
Yeah.
Someone else, they might
go to another country.
Yeah.
Go to Japan. They've got a really intricate train system.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
This like personal hero right there.
That's one
apparently he has like a huge fan club.
I kind of support him. You know, he's not trying to overtake trains and do anything bad. He literally just wants to do a good job driving trains.
Right? He's not hurting anyone. He's not hurting anyone. If anything, he's like preventing it from happening. But
he's probably a better train driver than every single person who works for the transit system.
Probably is. Just I think they may need to make a special exception. But
I support you, Darius.
Yeah, keep on committing crimes.
Yes. I do support crimes in this circumstance.
Princess Caribou. In 1847, Mary Baker convinced the wealthy elites of Bristol, England, that she was Princess Caribou, a princess from the island of Javasu, which I think is made up, but I don't know for sure.
Well, Princess Caribou is a wild name.
Yeah, I know. And then, so she made up the story that she escaped from an abduction by pirates. And then she was later found out that she was the daughter of a cobbler in Devonshire, England.
Good for her. Live that lie.
Victor Lustig is known as the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice and the man who ran the Romanian box scam. He is a lifelong con artist from France who the first time he sold the Eiffel Tower, he sold it for like $70,000, and this was in the 1920s or something, so it was a lot of money. He made up his own like engineering firm. He just like made it up. He like forged papers. He got like a scrap metal company to help him. I don't know if they actually knew what he was doing, that he was like trying to forge things, and ended up selling the Eiffel Tower that he didn't own to someone who paid him like $70,000. The Romanian box scam is a wooden box the size of like a trunk that he said could print duplicate money.
Oh, yep. I remember that.
Right? And basically it took like 6 hours, and they would put the bill in, and then he would just like go to a printer and print excess bills and then give it to the person. And they thought that it like was a duplicate somehow like... He was just like, I guess, making fake money, but obviously the box was just a wooden box, and then he ended up selling the box to like a couple different people.
And he sold it to like a bunch of people.
Yeah, a bunch of people. It was like a huge scam. And then he even got Al Capone to invest like $5,000 into some sort of investment that wasn't even a thing.
Incredible.
I know this guy. He just like. He just kept going.
Yeah, and he was able to.
Yes. Ferdinand Damara is a man in the 1940s who posed as several different people, including a lawyer, a college professor, and a naval surgeon on the Royal Canadian Navy. Most notably, in the Royal Canadian Navy, during the Korean War, he was found to save several people, including taking a bullet out of a soldier's chest. He had a photographic memory and looked up what to do in textbooks before operating on patients/soldiers. Isn't this wild? He saved so many people on this boat, on this ship. And because of that success, that's how he was discovered that he actually didn't have a medical degree. And not only that,
he was too good at his job.
He saved a bunch of people and they're like, we want to give you an award.
Put him
and
in the spotlight.
Like, yeah. And they're like, you don't even have a medical degree. Not only that, but he went AWOL from not only the American Army, but the American Navy. God. And then just went up to Canada and just joined their Navy and said that he was a doctor.
Holy shit.
But he saved a bunch of people.
Like the train guy. I bet this guy was also autistic.
Yeah,
photographic memory.
Yeah, for sure.
He just downloaded those brain files and he knew how to do surgery.
Like, what is happening? Could you imagine being the guy who got the bullet fished out of his chest?
Yeah.
And he was like, and then you find out the guy didn't even have a medical degree? Are you kidding?
But yeah, he was able to do it anyways.
Right?
It's not
but
like
you're
he was
just like, Anna Sorokin, you may know her more as Anna Delvey. She just had a Netflix special. Did you ever watch that?
I did.
I had such a hard time getting through it. I listened to so many podcasts on her, but the actual Netflix special I thought was
kind of dragged on.
Oh my God. It needed to be like a 90-minute movie and not, what was it, like 10 episodes?
It was a lot of episodes.
I
did
so
finish
many.
it though.
Anyway, so Anna Sorokin posed as Anna Delvey, who she said was a German heiress, and she was like a socialite amongst the New York City elite from 2013 to 2017. She ended up like frauding about, I think it was like $250,000 out of friends and businesses, including racking up like thousands of dollars in hotel bills that she never paid. Saying that the money is getting wired over or something, and it just wasn't through. She's in jail.
Yeah.
So
and she was caught eventually.
She was caught and she was in jail. I feel bad for the people who friended her.
Yeah, but also I feel like, not to victim blame, but some of it is like, come on, guys.
Don't give people thousands.
Come on. This woman.
I don't want to victim blame because I feel like it's a sheer miracle that I haven't been caught in a scam yet.
And don't take that as a call to action to scam Kristen.
No,
please don't.
Scam
That'd be
me.
mean.
I'm just saying that I am.
She will fall for it. So don't.
I asked Christopher because I always get like the phishing emails and stuff, and I'm like, "Is this the phishing email?" And he's like, "Yes."
You're like a grandmother.
No, you don't need a Nigerian prince to tell you what to do. You know,
But maybe.
And the last one, Grace, you were going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Elon Musk.
He
sucks.
All I have written here is the worst.
That's all you need to know, really.
All you need to know. So Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla, right? And that's all he's really known for. But
And Twitter, buying Twitter and running it into the ground.
Bought Twitter. He made a bunch of really terrible financial decisions, but he is the heir to like an emerald mine, right, in South Africa or something.
Yep, that's where his fortune came from.
Yes.
And he denied that he had money from that, and his own father came out and said, yes, I own an emerald mine, and that's where your fortune came from. Yes, and I think he's definitely like posed, like, just like very good self-marketing until now. That he's like kind of posed as like, oh, I'm this like tech wizard because I founded Tesla, but that's not even it. He just invested money into the company. It was a group of engineers that founded Tesla. Yeah, he's just like failed upward.
Right.
He was like kicked out of, he owned part of PayPal back, at the very beginning of that, and they like kicked him out of that. It's like all these things that he claims are big accomplishments on his resume, but then when you look into it, it's like, no, he was fired from that. He was let go of that. He was kicked out of that.
Right.
And he also claimed to have, I think, a PhD in some kind of science field. No, he has a bachelor's degree in economics,
which is great.
And that's it. But that's it.
Yeah.
He's not a scientist. He's a
Right.
average businessman who was born rich into daddy's
Right.
money.
And I think when you, like, I even had coworkers who are like, well, I remember when he was buying Twitter, they're like, well, look what he did with Tesla. You know, he's an engineer. And I'm like, he's not an engineer.
He's literally not.
He's literally not an engineer. I think he's made this like fake persona that he is like this like tech wizard and he's, you know, an engineer and he knows science. And I'm like, no, he's just a guy with a lot of money who wants to invest in all these like new ideas.
Yeah, he's like a shitty Iron Man. And the thing is, it's worked. If you ask any fucking basement dweller bro, he looks at Elon Musk as this like science god. It's
but
like,
he's not.
No.
He just like he was born into money and he wants to invest it, which is, I guess, fine. But from what I heard, it's not going well.
Yeah,
I tend not to follow him.
He doesn't make good decisions. Yeah, I don't either. I hate the guy. But that just shows you. I mean, also it helps if you're a wealthy white man that you can get away with a lot more of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So wealthy white men out there, start shooting your shot, man. You should, if anything, you should be more of an imposter because you can get away with it.
You can get away with it.
Scrub in for surgery. Steal a train.
Yeah, steal a train.
Start training tigers.
The world is your oyster.
You can do whatever. Fly a plane.
You could do it. Make sure other people aren't on it.
Yeah. I would agree.
Listeners, if there are other imposters you want us to cover, or if you want us to deep dive, maybe we'll do an informative info dump about someone.
Ooh.
If you would like us to do that, let us know. Write us in.
I might have to do an informative info dump in the future about the guy who invented the lobotomy. Because once again, that was just a man who started playing around with
pickaxes. He was like, what if we put a pickaxe
brains.
or ice pick in someone's brain?
Yeah.
In their frontal lobe and just kind of give it a little zhuzh.
Just wiggle around.
Good.
Until they stop talking so much.
Yeah.
And then, boom, problem fixed
there,
for us.
Hysterical woman solved.
Yeah. Now she's silent, drooling in the corner.
Yeah.
Boom.
Just like we
Surgery.
Want her.
Yeah.
Boom. You're welcome.
So maybe I'll do that one in the future. There's also that woman, Renee Bach, but that's way less fun, where she like impersonated a doctor and like killed a bunch of fucking orphans.
Jesus
Which also
Christ.
plays into like white saviorism, you know?
Oh, was that the girl who...
She literally has no medical experience and she started like a medical practice in Africa.
Yes.
Literally killed hundreds of kids.
By like deferring care.
Yes. And just like...
And people like trusted her.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Which is, that case is more tragic and way less fun to laugh about than Anna Sorokin.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we kept it light and kind of talk more about, you know, people who are scamming other wealthy people for the most part. Or just
that's
stealing
fun.
Trains. Yeah, if you're going to scam a rich person, you know, scam a corporation.
Oh, yeah.
Scam Walmart, you know, scam Amazon, scam Amazon.
Because they scam
a bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scam a CEO.
Isn't employment fraud the biggest fraud that's committed in the United States?
Oh,
worker wage theft?
Yes, wage theft.
Sorry for the snaps, Christopher.
Yes, wage theft.
Wage theft. Biggest theft.
Yes.
It's not people stealing at self-checkout. It's corporations.
No. If you see someone stealing at self-checkout at any big
box
store, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Shh.
Maybe we shouldn't say that on.
I'm saying it.
All right. I saw nothing.
I saw everything and I approve and support it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this has been Weirds of a Feather.
Yes.
On that note,
an
ADHD-Adjacent podcast. I hope you liked our episode today. If you want to send us an email, you can at weirdsofeather@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Instagram. We post polls every Monday and then the results every Wednesday. If I remember, lately, I've been forgetting, but I'm going to do better. It's 2024. And if you would like to buy us a coffee, you can at
ko-fi.com/weirds-of-a-feather.
And you can also join our Facebook group, Weirds of a Feather. And we post that stuff there too. And people post stuff there too. And it's a nice little fun time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get into our bod.
Let's do that bod.
We've got the Great Bustard today.
Bastard.
And my dyslexic ass read that as bastard.
I did too. Lily said this to me on TikTok.
Bastard.
I thought the guy was just being mean about this bird and he was calling it the Great Bastard.
That's what I said. I was like, I got to look up the name of this bird because I can't say the Great Bustard on a podcast. And or the Great Bastard on a podcast.
Yes, you could.
I mean, I could, but I was like, it's got to have like a legitimate name.
This whole great bastard over
This
here.
great bastard of a bird. Look at this great bastard. Like, is it a compliment or an insult? I don't know. It's neither because it's the great bustard. It's the heaviest flying animal. The heaviest specimen was 46 pounds. And it lives in Morocco, northern Morocco, South Central Europe, East Central Asia. And Sister Lily sent this to us in a TikTok.
Yes, Sister Lily.
So thank you, Sister Lily. It's
I really feel like the
yeah.
gets closest to it.
I don't know. This is harder than expected.
If only you could see our faces. All right.